The crystal goblet shattered in Krelthar's crimson fist, shards of glass tinkling onto the polished floor as the Vornak warrior rose to his full, terrifying height.
You dare to mock the sacred feast of Vorna?
I merely observed that the roast was chewy.
Chewy, you insult my people's honor. I invoke the ancient right of single combat.
The murmur of 100 alien diplomats died instantly. Even the serving drones froze in place.
Are you certain, Krelthar? Under Vornak law, once invoked, the challenge cannot be withdrawn.
I am certain. Choose your weapon, human, and may your ancestors weep for you.
Anthony set down his own glass with unnerving calm. The ice cubes clinked softly against the crystal.
I accept.
The ancient rite had been invoked. Now, by Vornak protocol, the challenged party must name the weapon and set the terms.
As per the ancient rite, I choose the weapon. Thumb wrestling. Best of one submission. No time limit.
For one heartbeat, no one understood. Then, Krelthar's laughter boomed through the hall.
Your species settles honor with a contest of digits?
Earth's most traditional dueling discipline. The rules are simple but absolute.
Then let it be so. I will crush your thumb and then your throat.
Within the hour, the grand hall was cleared. A circular arena rose, a single wooden table, and 2 chairs at its center. Across 3-star systems, every screen lit up with the live stream. A counter in alien numerals ticked upward, already in the billions. Krelthar removed his ceremonial bladed gauntlets, flexing enormous crimson fingers with a predator's ease. Anthony rolled his sleeves to the elbows, exposing arms that looked like a child's beside the Vornaks. They took their seats. The referee droid descended, its voice echoing the one absolute rule: only the thumbs may touch. The droid projected the rules: only the thumbs may touch. All other fingers must stay interlocked and still. Any wrist movement is forfeit.
A duel with 1 digit. This is a farce, not honor.
You invoked the right. I chose the weapon. The protocols are clear.
On a ceremonial cloth beside the table, his bladed gauntlets lay useless for this contest.
The human is insane or suicidal. Either way, it will be over quickly.
The holographic viewership counter ticked past 5 billion. Across 3-star systems, every screen went silent with dread. Krelthar extended his hand, palm up, the vast crimson expanse dwarfing the table.
Anthony raised his steady hand, pale against the neon light. Shall we begin?
Lock your hand. End this absurdity.
Their hands hovered a breath apart. The galaxy held its breath, their hands locked. The Vornak's massive thumb rose like a pillar of crimson iron. Opposite, Anthony's smaller digit pressed forward with an unassuming stillness that defied reason.
1 push, little human, and your thumb will snap like dry kindling.
He drove his thumb down with the force that had once crushed a steel spar, but the human's thumb did not budge. Not a millimeter. Time stretched. The first hour passed, in an unnatural stalemate, neither thumb advancing nor retreating, as if they had become part of the table itself.
This cannot be. The human's grip is like forged stone. Where is his weakness?
In the stands, a low murmur rippled through the alien crowd. Something was wrong. The Vornaks should have won instantly. The live stream counter ticked past 20 billion viewers. The galaxy's largest duel of honor had become a spectacle of confusion. Anthony's half-smile had not shifted. His breathing was slow, controlled, as if he were reading a book, not locked in mortal combat.
Fortune deigns to humiliate me before all. I must endure. The ancestors are watching.
That was the moment the first seed of dread took root. Krelthar had not expected a fight. He had expected slaughter somewhere in the 2nd hour. As the arena lights cast long shadows, a tremor ran through Krelthar's thumb, a tiny crack in the fortress of his strength.
A cramp, nothing more. It will pass.
Anthony's chest rose and fell in a rhythm so slow it seemed designed to mock the Vornak's mounting panic each breath a quiet declaration of control. Krelthar surged all his power into the thumb, a desperate, grinding assault that should have shattered bone, but the human's grip absorbed it like a seawall takes a wave, unyielding.
Yield. Human. This is not possible.
Still good over there, Krelthar.
A fine tremor spread from Krelthar's thumb up through his forearm, visible now to every camera in the arena.
My people are watching. I cannot fail.
Anthony's expression remained serene. If anything, the half-smile had deepened, as if he were enjoying a private joke. The second hour bled into the third, and Krelthar understood. This was no longer a duel. It was a sentence. Krelthar's eyes swept the crowd. Every Vornak face burned with the same question. How could their champion fail so completely?
He fights without moving forward. How do you defeat an opponent who does nothing but endure?
He tried a subtle wrist twist, a Vornak leverage technique. The referee droid pulsed red. Illegal motion. Warning.
You fight without honor, human. No strength, no technique, only patience.
Honor is in the rules, Krelthar. You invoked them. I am simply following.
On every screen, commentators debated, was this human endurance a trained discipline, or something deeper?
He does not gloat. He does not strain. That smile is not amusement. It is judgment from a higher court.
A single bead of sweat traced Anthony's temple. Otherwise no change. The half-smile had not flickered in 3 hours.
I see now. He chose this weapon not to mock my people, but to unmake me before them.
In the stands, a Vornak elder lowered his head. The duel was over in spirit. Only the flesh had not yet surrendered. The holographic timer ticked past the 3rd hour. A low chime echoed through the silent arena. Krelthar's arm quaked from elbow to claw. The tremor was no longer a secret. Every screen in the galaxy broadcast it.
3 hours. The ancestors carved empires in less time. I cannot hold. I cannot.
In the Vornak section, an elder's guttural whisper cut through the silence. This is what becomes of the young who forget the weight of ritual.
They mock me, my own blood, and I have no reply but sweat and trembling.
Anthony's stillness was a brutality of its own. Not a single muscle in his face betrayed effort. Only that quiet, maddening half-smile. Around them, the arena had become a cathedral of held breath. Even the live stream commentary had fallen to a hush.
If I fall, I die. If I surrender, I shame my line for 100 generations. There is no path.
The referee droid's sensors glowed amber. Krelthar's vital signs spiking into the red, yet the rules forbade intervention. The 3rd hour bled toward the 4th, and Krelthar's thumb, once a weapon of legend, began its slow, agonizing descent toward the tabletop. The answer to that untenable stillness lay decades in the past. On a worn carpet in a house in Ohio, young Anthony, 7 years old, locked thumbs with his eldest brother, a high school wrestler who outweighed him by 60 pounds. Their father called it the patience drill. Hold the thumb lock without moving. Learn that endurance beats brute force. Anthony never won those matches, but he learned the secret, a lock that distracts the opponent into exhausting themselves. He learned to breathe slowly, to ignore the burn, to wait for the moment when the stronger hand betrays itself.
Still works, apparently.
The half-smile was not arrogance. It was the quiet certainty of a man who had done this 1,000 times. Krelthar felt the shift in pressure, not stronger, but wiser. The human wasn't fighting. He was waiting.
He chose this. He trained for this. And I walked into it willingly.
The Vornak warrior understood at last. This was not a duel. It was a lesson taught by a master in a final, desperate lunge of pride. Krelthar's free hand left its anchor and rose into the air. A distraction, a last violation.
If his focus breaks, even for an instant, the lock will weaken. It must.
The referee droid reacted instantly. A pulsing red light flooded the table. Illegal motion. Second and final warning. Anthony did not blink. His eyes remained fixed on the interlocked thumbs, steady as a fixed star.
He didn't flinch. Neither noise nor movement disturbed that terrible calm.
The distraction had cost Krelthar a precious fraction of strength. His thumb bent backward another millimeter.
I have thrown away the last of my honor, and still it is not enough. The ancestors weep.
The referee droid hovered lower, its amber scanner glowing, prepared to record the inevitable submission. Anthony's thumb, patient as nature itself, continued its serene, irreversible press toward the wood. Krelthar's thumb hovered a paper-thin distance above the tabletop, all strength gone, resistance only a memory. The contact was a whisper, soft as a leaf on water, but it echoed like a detonation through the galaxy. The referee droid's scanner pulsed gold. Submission confirmed. Thumb touches table. The duel is ended.
A sound tore from Krelthar's throat, not a word, but a howl, raw as torn armor.
The crowd did not cheer. Millions stared in mute shock. No one had prepared for this.
It is done. I am dead already. Only the method remains.
Anthony's half-smile was gone, replaced by something harder, the face of a man who had done what he intended. The timer froze at 4 hours, 12 minutes, 37 seconds, a number seared into galactic memory. He looked up. For the first time, no fury, only a silent plea in his eyes. Anthony rose from his chair. The wooden legs scraped against the stage like a sentence being read. By the ancient rite, Anthony held the power of death over a Vornak warrior. The galaxy waited. Anthony released the grip, stepping back as if the duel were already over.
I invoke Sub-Clause 47B of the Vornak Articles of Combat, Mercy and Victory.
The referee droid complied. Above them, a holographic scroll unfurled, ancient Vornak runes burning gold. Krelthar's breath caught. The seal of the legal conservatory shimmered, and beneath it, a personal glyph.
That mark. I drew that mark. In my first decade as a legislator.
The clause read aloud in the droid's monotone. A victor may, at cost of honor blood, grant life to the defeated.
You found my clause. The one I wrote to end the culling duels.
I read the Vornak legal code after you invoked the challenge. Every sub-clause.
For the first time in 4 hours, Anthony's voice held no distance, only the weight of intention. The arena fell into that deeper silence that comes when history pivots on 3 words.
The Mercy Clause requires payment, honor, blood. I ask for blood brotherhood, Krelthar, a sacred bond sworn unto death.
You would share your name with mine? After what I've done?
Tears cut tracks through the dust on Krelthar's cheeks, a Vornak warrior weeping openly before 3-star systems.
I accept. I will carry your name, and my shame.
Anthony extended his hand, and Krelthar's trembling claws closed around it. The thumb-wrestling grip transformed into a seal of brotherhood. The crowd rose, not in a roar, but a staggered wave of confusion giving way to a sound none of them could name.
Brother?
They embraced across the table, the wooden edge digging into ribs, neither caring.
We'll figure out the paperwork later.
In that moment, the ancient rite was rewritten, not by law, but by 2 men who chose mercy over death. Neither man released the hand. The thumb-wrestling grip, born of combat, had become an unbreakable tether between former enemies.
The human grip that crushed me now holds me upright. I have never felt such weightless strength.
The livestream counter rolled over, a number so high the holographic numerals flickered, unable to keep pace with 3-star systems watching that single image. 1 colossal claw, 1 human hand, thumbs crossed in a pact, froze on every screen. They rose, hands still locked, and walked toward the exit. Not a warrior and a corpse, but 2 brothers who had found each other at the edge of death.
I think we've given them enough to talk about for one day.
My clan will not understand. But that is a shame I must carry, and it is lighter than the one I have already shed.
The crowd parted before them, a sea of alien faces trying to comprehend a new kind of victory. On every world, in every language, commentators struggled to name what had just occurred. Some called it grace, others a new kind of strength. The duel was over. The galaxy would need time to understand what had just happened. 3 days later, the diplomatic hall was a storm of arguments. Ambassadors from a dozen species demanded to know if the ancient rite was a relic or a weapon. Krelthar found Anthony in a quiet lounge afterward, nursing a glass of synthetic whiskey.
Anthony, I must thank you, not only for my life, but for reminding me of who I once was.
You wrote that clause decades ago, Krelthar. What made you forget it?
I was young then. I believed honor could survive without blood. Then I watched my brother die in a culling duel, and I broke.
The confession hung between them, heavier than any gauntlet.
After that, I buried the clause. It reminded me of my failure. You brought it back.
We all bury things we're ashamed of. The trick is digging them up before they bury us.
He speaks as if he has carried burdens too. Perhaps that is why he understands.
They sat together until the lounge lights dimmed, two brothers building a bridge out of old pain. The Chamber of Clans on Vorna had not seen such fury in a generation. Elders and war leaders alike demanded Krelthar answer for his mercy. An ancient elder, his horns scarred by a dozen duels, rose and roared, "You let a human shame us, and call it honor."
I invoked the ancient right in arrogance. He answered with the law I myself wrote. The shame is mine, but so is the redemption.
The chamber split like a cracked stone. Some turned their backs. Others, the younger warriors, leaned forward.
My brother died in the old way. I will not let another do so.
After the session, a young Vornak, barely armored, found him in the corridor. His eyes held the same fire Krelthar once had.
You saw the duel.
The young one spoke of the mercy grip, of seeing a warrior weep and a human offer brotherhood. It had changed him.
One soul. That is enough to begin.
By week's end, Krelthar had become a reluctant prophet of mercy. His clans were divided, but the seed had been planted. The Republic Council's formal offer arrived as Anthony packed his belongings in the cramped embassy office. They proposed a permanent human Vornak liaison post, complete with a seat on the Diplomatic High Council.
They want a figurehead, a monument to the Great Thumb War. But monuments don't bleed, and the galaxy needs to remember that mercy bleeds.
His reply was composed in 30 seconds. "I decline. My work is done." Then he pulled out the retirement papers he had carried for years. He signed every page with a steady hand.
The galaxy doesn't need another diplomat. It needs to remember that a man can choose peace when he holds the blade.
A small crowd of reporters had gathered outside, hoping for a statement. He gave them 3 sentences.
The story isn't about me. Krelthar wrote the Mercy Law decades before we ever met. I just bothered to read it.
He set his diplomatic credentials on the reception desk and walked into the evening. The footage of the thumb duel was already being studied in military academies. Within 2 standard years, the recording of the thumb duel became the most watched diplomatic archive in galactic history. Diplomatic academies from Andoria to Silos added it to their core curriculum. A case study in unarmed conflict resolution. The Vornak Law Conservatory, under unrelenting pressure from its own youth, formally reopened the Articles of Combat. Krelthar, now recognized as a legal scholar, presented the revised text himself, his personal glyph still blazing on the mercy clause. The new law mandated a mercy consideration period before any duel could proceed, a direct descendant of the Thumb Wrestling Pact. They called it the Mercy Pin, the frozen image of a human thumb pressing a Vornax to the table. Copies of that image spread across the galaxy, painted on walls, worn on medallions, projected in classrooms. News feeds showed Krelthar, his horns now streaked with gray, standing before the Vornak High Council as the final vote passed. The old warrior wept, and this time, his people wept with him. Decades had changed the law, but the image that started it all remained the same. The transport pod settled softly on the Vornak ceremonial plateau. its doors opening onto a vista of crimson stone spires and golden banners. Anthony Reed, now 72, leaned on a simple walking staff. The wrinkles around his eyes deepened as he smiled at the familiar scent of Vornak incense. Krelthar waited beside an archway carved with the glyphs of his clan. His scales had dulled with age, but his 4 eyes still held the fire of a warrior.
You look old, brother.
And you look small human still.
They clasped forearms, the greeting of warriors, then pulled each other into a rough embrace that needed no translation. Inside the hall, Krelthar's son cradled an infant, wrapped in the red and gold silk of a new generation. The baby's tiny claws flexed in its sleep. Krelthar's eldest daughter stepped forward, her horns adorned with ceremonial beads, and gestured for silence. The elder began the ancient chant of naming, her voice rising and falling like the winds of Vorna. Anthony and Krelthar stood side by side, witnesses to the future.
My brother is here. My brother is here, and my grandchild will know his name.
The elder's chant faded, and Krelthar's son stepped into the silence. The infant quiet against his chest, his voice carried through the hall, recounting the duel of 4 hours and the mercy that had rewritten their clan's fate. Then he lifted the child toward the assembly. Her name is Vekith, second chance, in the old tongue. Turning to Anthony, he asked in halting standard, "Will you bless her, uncle?"
I am not Vornak, but if you'll have a human prayer, may your thumb never pin another, and may your mercy be remembered.
The elder's eyes glistened. The ancient chant resumed, but now it carried the child's new name like a promise. Krelthar placed a clawed hand on Anthony's shoulder, and for a heartbeat, the years fell away.
Worth it. All of it.
The clan pressed forward in a tide of crimson and gold, each member touching the infant's brow to welcome her. And at the center, the human and the Vornak who had once tried to kill each other stood as family. The ceremony drifted into quiet celebration, but Krelthar and Anthony lingered at the center, 2 old titans in a pool of amber light, without a word. Krelthar raised his hand, claws open, the gesture as old as their first duel. Anthony's lined hand met it, and their thumbs crossed. Not in combat, but in the grip that had become a covenant. Neither pressed, neither yielded. The grip held a history of 4 hours and a lifetime of mercy.
Some traditions age well.
This one gave me a brother.
Around them, the clan went still. The young ones watched with wide eyes, the elders with damp cheeks. A toddler raised her tiny clawed hand toward her mother, trying to imitate the grip. The elder who had chanted the naming lowered her head, and when she raised it, her smile was pure Vornak pride. They released the grip, but the bond held. The thumb wrestling duel was over, and so was the war it had ended. The Vornak sun broke through the stained glass dome, spilling crimson and gold across the right. Krelthar and Anthony stood against the light, the infant Vekith cradled between them. 100 holocams captured the image, not for news feeds, but for family records that would outlast them both.
Let them remember the grip, not the man.
Light years away, a child in a classroom on Proxima touched a holopicture of the mercy pin and asked her teacher why the human smiled. The recording of the thumb duel still held the top archive slot, not for its violence, but for what came after. The old human and the old Vornak did not see it. They were busy watching a baby grasp her mother's claw, learning to grip. Krelthar laughed, a deep, rolling sound that startled the child into a gummy smile. The clan joined in, a cascade of Vornak laughter, older than the stones beneath them, and the image held a human hand and a Vornak claw, no longer locked in combat, but open, teaching, passing on. The old hands of Anthony Reed and Krelthar had never truly separated. They found each other again now, as they always would. As they clasped, a ghost image shimmered, the same hands, decades younger, locked in that arena on a day the galaxy held its breath. The scarred human thumb and the once mighty Vornak claw were still now, no struggle between them. A grip that had once pinned a warrior to death had become a bridge.
Not bad for a thumb war.
The superimposed images merged, the young combatants fading, the old brothers solidifying. Around them, The warmth of the ceremony hall dimmed, voices softening to a murmur. The grip held for a long moment, a silent promise that needed no words. Then the light began to retreat, pulling back from the fingers, the table, the hall, until only the clasped hands remained, and then, gently, not at all,